fine.
Recovering from this weekend of way too many sessions, but I'm good.
I know, and I'm looking at all of your amazing prints behind you.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. First of all, I can't even believe that I haven't been able to come into your studio. I have to come visit you.
Yes, you must. I do have coffee here.
Coffee. You know me very well. I need my coffee. Kirtana, it's so fun having you on the show. I want to start out, and I just want you to tell us a little bit about yourself, introduce yourself, tell us in the area that you're working currently, and let's kick this off. Talk to us.
Sure. So my name is Kirtana Ahluwalia. I have been in the Bay Area for 10 years now. I am Indian, living in the Bay Area with my family. I moved here when I got married because my husband refused to move to the UK. I was living in the UK before this. And then I moved with my company that I was working with. I was working with a small management consulting firm back then in 2012. And I just started living in the Bay Area. Everything was going well, hustling, doing my corporate job till I had my son in 2014. Which is when I realized a management consulting role with a child who does not sleep is not a good combination. And I left my job at that time. I was like a very brief, short period where I was a stay-at-home mom. I continued to stay at home, but I sent my kid to daycare pretty quickly after.
No judgment here. I did the same thing.
It was important for me to send him out of the house and be away from him to keep loving him. But then I was taking pictures of him when he was born, and that's how I started realizing that I actually really enjoy taking pictures. And I started getting asked by friends around me, "Ooh, can you take our photos? You've taken photos of Prithvi that we love." And then eventually I was like, wait, I'm not doing anything. People are asking me to take pictures. Maybe I can make money out of this. And then I started doing it as like a side hustle. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to see if I can do this. And then eventually, fast forward, this was in 2016 when I started my current business, Golden Shutter Portraits. Fast forward all these years, and I am finally at that point where I can say I am a full-time business and a full-time mom. And I love the life that I'm living right now. I do newborn portraits, as you can see. I do family portraits. I do headshots. And obviously special experiences here and there around the holidays that I've come to be known for.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. I mean, I've been a part of your work and we've worked together in the past, and you have a brilliant eye behind the camera. And everybody thinks that, photography is so easy. And I am a very amateur photographer and used to, have some fun with my, what I thought was very fancy camera until I realized what a really fancy camera costs. But I will tell you, it's not easy. And, there's a lot of science that goes in behind it all. And you better know what the heck you're doing, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So talk to us a little bit about how you transitioned from corporate into photography. And really, there's just like realtors, there's so many photographers out there. Right. So what are you doing to stay ahead of the trends and to make sure that you continue staying educated?
Yes, absolutely. It was my husband, who was my then boyfriend, gifted me my first camera. I went to school in Cambridge, UK, University of Cambridge. It was a really pretty town, and sort of decided like, oh, you're there for a year. You should have a camera to document your year while you're there. So that's truly how it started. But then when I got my job, all my friends, I got a job in Cambridge, which is a small town in the UK. And all my friends had moved to London at that point. So I was like, okay, I am stuck in a small town on, like a cold winter afternoon where the sun sets at 2:30 p.m. and I have nothing else to do. I was working myself crazy and I'm like, okay, I need to do something. which is when I joined the adult college, like the adult community college there after hours. I was like, I need to do a hobby or do something outside of work. My life seems to be just work right now. And I don't have friends. So it was literally like 5 days of work. And then I would go to London for the weekend.
This is before kids. Before kids.
I wasn't married. I had no responsibilities. My paycheck was all my party money. So yes, it was the good old days. So yeah, and then that's when I first started learning about the technical aspect of how to use a camera, how to use light, how to manipulate light. And all my work was mostly like swans, rivers, beautiful architecture. But it's only after I had my son when I realized, okay, I can really apply the same principles here now that I know how to use a good camera. I still remember it was July. My son was 6 months old. That's when I bought my first full frame camera. And I remember it being a huge investment, like you said. And I had no business. I had no plans of doing a business or anything. I just wanted a good camera for my child. That's all. I just wanted to have a good camera so I could photograph him. And of course, I was still working at that time. So again, used my work money to buy myself a gift. But it's different when you're my corporate life was going really well. I was doing really well till the point where you realize how important sleep is to survive the corporate culture, especially management consulting. I was the first person in my whole office to have a baby. Everybody else was either dating or not married, or they were seniors like principals who had teenage kids or kids in college. So when I told people, like, I cannot do this, I have to go pick up my child at 4:30, I have to log on. You cannot put a meeting in my calendar for 5 o'clock in the evening. Like, they used to look at me like deer in headlights, like, why? Why can't I do that? So I think all those things combined together really propelled me to be like, okay, this is not the life that I wanted for myself. I do want to be successful. I come from a very hardcore Indian values family. So education has been a very big thing in our family. And I did study a lot. Like, I did my engineering, then I was preparing for medical sciences before that. I would have been a doctor had I cleared those exams. I did my engineering after that. I did my master's. So for me to walk away from everything that I have studied, everything that my parents taught that I should do in life, it was a huge step. But that's when I truly realized, I'm like, okay, this job isn't going to make me rich. This job isn't going to give me the life that I want, especially now that I have changed priorities. Yeah. And I just walked away from it. And photography kind of happened. It started off as a passion. It started off like, ooh, I really enjoy this. I don't care about the money. It's about the art. I want to do this really well. But then now it's truly manifested into, okay, I have the science of it down. I know my work is good enough where I can sell it. But then I think what I spent most of my time educating myself on was the business side of photography. I know how to sell pharmaceutical drugs. I know how to market pharmaceutical drugs because that's what I studied for 6 years that I went to college and my postgrad for. But I didn't know how to sell portraits. And I think that's where I invested a lot of my time in, to truly understand how can I translate my passion, create a money system that works, that helps me live the life I want. I want to be that stay-at-home mom who only sees her kids for a few hours a day, not the entire day though. But I do also want to provide and be an active contributor to our household, especially in the Bay Area. Like it was a huge decision for me. All my financial life-changing decisions have come after after spending big. We bought our first house and 3 days later I resigned from my corporate job with no plans of starting a business, anything like that at the time. But I knew something had to be done where I could do, bring some money home and enjoy doing what I was doing. And again, like when I started, it was really, I would really get bogged down by competition. I started as $100 photographer, but it's like, I will give you everything for $100. But now when I think about it, I was probably better off working an hourly job and would have probably made more money than I did sitting at my computer editing those pictures. But it was truly the business courses that I took to learn the portrait business, how to sell, how to be profitable, how to manage your hours. Like I did a course that actually taught me how to divide my week sensibly so that I have enough time for everything that I want to do in my week. And I think those things have really helped me. And that's something that helps me feel like I am different from my competitors. Like right now, it's the busiest seasons for photographers, right? Yeah. Everybody wants photography, whether it's for holiday cards, whether it's for, Christmas sessions, just documenting their child's first year, Santa, anything you want. And you see people, like I see photographers all around me offering mini sessions. And I'm like, this is the only industry where when things get busy, we start discounting our services. Yeah. I don't understand that. For me, that's
so that's an important note, right? Because I know you personally, and I hope you don't mind. I'm going to go off of like what you think I'm going to ask you for a second, sure. But I really want you to touch base here tonight because I think it's so important for women, especially. We all get ourselves into a pickle sometimes as business owners, thinking, oh my God, we don't know when the next paycheck's going to come. We don't know when we're going to book that next service or have that next client, right? So then all of a sudden we get our mindsets into maybe we need to give a credit back, or maybe we need to discount our services. Maybe we're charging too much, right? Maybe we're too expensive against our competitors. What happened to you? Because something very specific happened to you, and there was a mindset shift that happened. And that is what took you really kind of from where you and all your competitors were to you blazing away with the financial aspect of where you are today, because it was the mindset, right? And I remember having this conversation with you. Can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah. I think for me, it was, again, going back to the business mentorship. I've tried multiple business mentors, but there was this one particular mentor. I remember Megan DePiero. I took her lessons and I was just like, I need to change the way I think. I have grown up with a scarcity mindset. I have grown up to believe, and it's not wrong, coming from India, where you're studying, I studied my entire teenage life for competitive exams where the seats were limited. There are only 100 seats from this college and you need to pass an exam to fill it. All my formative years were built for me to think this is it. If you don't get it, it's done. It's over. Life is over. And I think that transcended to my other aspects of life as well. It's okay, I have to do certain things in a certain way. Otherwise I will miss the boat. Yeah. But that's when I took Megan's coaching. I think that's when it really impacted me. Where it's there is abundance around you. My clients are out there, they're looking for me. And the only reason I market is so that I can help them find me much easily. I am not out there trying to convert a client to be something that they're not. I am just there to help them find me much easily. And I think that mindset shift when I moved from a scarcity mindset to abundance. And it's really hard to live when you're living paycheck to paycheck. Totally. The year just before COVID was the first year where I remember hitting big numbers in my business. But at the same time, I was working like a donkey. I was working crazy hours. It did not give me happiness. Yeah. But then COVID happened and I went back to my corporate job because they love me. I love them. I went back to my corporate job, but I still knew you have that feeling inside you, this is not what you want. It was haunting me to come out of that. But that's the time when I truly realized, okay, these are my priorities. This is what I need to work towards. This is how my mindset needs to change. And I think I've actively been working on that. It's a day-to-day process. Mm-hmm. I still go to bed some nights where I'm I had an ordering appointment last night. I made a big sale, but instead of being excited about it, I'm still tensed up about, oh my God, what am I going to do in December? How am I going to hit those numbers in December? Yeah. And like Saurabh has to physically shake me away. He's like, can we just celebrate what you sold right now and not think about what's going to happen next? But I think that's the life of a business owner. But starting the day with gratitude, being thankful for what I have, being thankful for how far I've come from. Literally after COVID, it felt like starting from scratch, because when I came back after COVID, my prices were triple of what I wanted them to before COVID. I had focused my mindset on selling an experience. I don't tell people I'm a photographer anymore. I tell them I'm a luxury service provider. You have a problem, I will solve that for you. You had a brand new child, you want to take portraits? Just come to my studio with some milk and diapers. I got everything else. I'll take care of your wardrobe. I'll take care of your hair and makeup. I've even got sweaters for dads now, because I realize moms are taken care of, but then dads get clumsy. I have clothes for siblings. I have everything we need in the studio. Just come. And then even when I deliver the portraits, like my goal is to make it so easy where I don't give you a wall print that sits in the corner in a box forever because you have your hands full to put it on the wall. I take a handyman with me and I install wall art for you in your house so you can cherish it from the day it gets delivered. So I think all those things in the mindset of like, I am working more out of a service mindset now than a commodity mindset. There is a mindset of abundance and scarcity. I don't need to compete with anybody. I need to compete with myself. And it's funny, I'll tell you a story. My husband, as you know, he works for he works for a startup company. And he keeps talking about, oh, the valuation is this, the valuation is that. My money is going to be this much. My money is going to be that much. And I'm like, it doesn't mean anything till you guys go public. So stop telling me. I'm like, how do you know your company is worth so much? Oh, because you look at the competitors who are public and they make so much money. I'm like, well, then Golden Shutter Portraits is my competitor is a $2 billion shutterfly company. So, I mean, I am going to be as rich as you are. And he looks at me and he's like, what? And I'm like, yeah, like I have 100% shares of Golden Shutter Portraits right now. And my competitor is not another photographer. My competitor is Shutterfly. Shutterfly is making life easier for people by selling our prints, helping them decorate their homes. And that's what I intend to do. So again, it's a literal shift in mindset and walking away from, I'm just selling photos and moving on. No, I'm helping you solve a problem. I want you to decorate your home. I want you to cherish these memories, helping you document them and keep them for years. I think that truly has helped me this year. I hit my goal this year yesterday evening, and I showed Saurabh that number, and Saurav's like, that is really cool. I'm like, yes, but what am I going to do for December?
That's amazing! Congratulations!
I am so excited.
So cool.
And I have truly enjoyed this year. It's funny, when I had Prithvi, I had a corporate job. I knew I was going to qualify for maternity leave. I was going to get paid by EDD and FMLA.
Yep.
Yet 6 months of maternity leave felt like less. I was scared to go back to work. I was like, that's not enough time with my baby. Versus I'm pregnant, as you know. This pregnancy, I'm like, so if I start feeling better at 4 weeks, do I have to still wait the whole 6 weeks to come back to work, or can I come back at 4 weeks? And to be fair, photography is a little bit intensive physically when you're working with toddlers and newborns where you have to squat, bend, do all those things. So I see why the doctor is like, no, you must take 6 weeks off at least. But there's a mindset shift again, because I'm like, now I don't see it as a punishment to work. I don't see it as a way of being away from my child. I see it as a way of how I can provide for my family, spend meaningful time with my children, and at the same time enjoy doing what I'm doing, being something other than just mom.
It's amazing. Kirtana, you've touched on so many different things. One of the things that really hit home for me is when you said your husband was like, can you just take a second and enjoy the wind?
Yeah.
And like, it literally brings tears to my eyes. Like, I'm going to cry right now. And here's why, because I've been in the business for 8 years doing what I do, and I love, you know how much I love helping my clients. Like, I mean, I bend over backwards and I do far more than anybody else in real estate that I actually know does for their clients. But with that being said, I've never actually celebrated a closed escrow.
Yeah.
I remember starting out in this industry and my husband looking at me and being like, you just closed 20 million in your first year of real estate. And I'm like, yeah, so like, that's nothing. Yeah. And he was like, what do you mean that's nothing? I'm like, that's nothing. Like, we have so much more to accomplish here. I have to keep going. I can't think about these numbers. And people in my industry think I'm crazy because I will not look at my numbers throughout the year. My husband's like, hey, it's June. What are your numbers like? I'm like, I don't know. And it's none of your business. Like, I'm not even talking about that because my focus is about the experience, just like you. My focus is how can I create the best experience for all clients of all price points, whether you're a $400,000 buyer for a condo or a $4 million buyer for a single family home, you're going to get the same experience.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about you is that you've really taken this photography business and turned it into, like you said, this magical experience. Like, I cannot wait until Devin is a year or two older and we're able to come experience this Santa experience that you put together, because it's freaking amazing. And yes, you pay a premium for it, but where else are you getting that type of experience? Nowhere, absolutely nowhere else, right? So I love what you've done. I salute you. You've really, at the beginning of this year, when you told me what your prices were, I literally wanted to pass out. And then I thought about it and I was like, she's freaking amazing. Like, good for her because she knows her self-worth. And I think as women, especially mompreneurs, especially in the Bay Area, we have to make a shit ton of money just to survive.
Yeah.
And everybody else is, so why shouldn't they pay for our time?
Absolutely. Every year, I have clients who come back every year, and I have one client this year who came back and she paid a staggering difference from what she paid me pre-COVID and what she paid me now. And she looks at me and she goes, you know what? I would never tolerate my work, my office, my company not giving me a pay raise.
Yeah.
Good for you to get yourself a pay raise.
That's
and I
awesome.
think that truly held back. Like, I had to stop myself from crying. I'm like, this is what they mean when they say your clients are out there.
Absolutely.
Put yourself out there so you're making it easy for them to find you. This is like the abundance mindset that, that it brings. There is truly abundance. And if people see the value in what you're doing, there'll be no problems paying for that.
Absolutely. Your work is amazing. I mean, it's above really just about everybody else that I've ever worked with from a photography standpoint. And again, I think that the beauty behind you and your business and what you're doing is the fact that you've really found your own self-worth. And I think that is like the true lesson for all of us, is finding that self-worth deep down inside, because we lose it as mompreneurs. It's so hard. Like you said, we're surviving in one of the most expensive places in the world to survive. Yeah. And as business owners, we don't know when our next paycheck is coming. No. I've had months go by of, thank God I have a savings, right? Because I don't know the next time I'm going to have a client buy or sell a property. And it's scary when you have such a high overhead, when you're paying for rent, for a studio, for my office, whatever it may be. It is freaking scary.
It is. It truly is. Yeah. I used to always think buyer's remorse is something that comes when you make an expensive purchase.
Yeah.
But there's also a seller's remorse that comes when you sell something truly expensive. Yeah. And I would say that seller's remorse is more like what we call like the imposter syndrome for us women, especially, right? It's like, who the hell am I to charge them so much money? Yeah. I have been lucky this year. I've had a 5-figure sale selling digital portraits. I did not even sell them a single print. But I have literally sat down there after that, and I've literally thought to myself, I feel like a con artist. I feel like I have conned these people But what they don't see is like behind the scenes, like this was a headshot client. I had a makeup artist with me at all times, touching up everybody coming in for headshots. I had an assistant with me who was making sure people walked away from that experience with their images chosen. And if they did not like the images that we just shot, come back right in. While you're ready, let's do it again.
That's
So
right.
it's a whole experience that you're selling. It's a service that you're selling. And because you can't see a service versus you can see a product or a commodity, oftentimes as moms, like that's when we start offering discounts and we start saying like, oh, it's just my time. I can discount it for it. Why? It's your time away from your family. It's your time away from your kids. Why would you discount it?
No, absolutely. And I think another thing that I just love about you is that you're really like striking the match for women of culture that believe they need to be one way because that is how their parents think they need to be.
Yeah.
And you've really taken that to a whole new level. And like, it gives me chills. Like I have chills throughout my body because I'm so freaking proud of you and all of the other women that are like, you know what? Damn it. No. Like, yeah, I may have studied engineering and I may have studied all these math classes and gotten all these degrees, but I'm going to go do what I want to do in my life and go to work being happy every day.
Yeah.
And I get it, right? But from a cultural standpoint, it's so different for you ladies. And you're being judged, right? You're being judged by your parents. You're being judged by your siblings. You're being judged by your aunts and your uncles and everybody else. And, you know, it's amazing that you have a supportive husband. But I know you personally, if you didn't have a supportive husband,
I would still do it.
He'd be sailing on a sailing ship in your backyard.
I was FaceTiming my dad yesterday, and he tells me, he's like, Amazon is laying off all these people, and in India also they've started laying off. They're saying recession is coming. Are you guys going to be okay? And I'm like, I think we'll be fine. I was like, luckily I'm in the rich get richer when a recession hits. So luckily I'm in a clientele like where people are not that affected. So I don't see my business getting affected. And then he asked me, he's like, is your business doing well? Are you making enough to survive the month? And I'm just like, quiet. I'm like, oh, I love my father to bits. My father is my biggest support system for me and my mom both. My mom is a working mom. My dad's a stay-at-home dad. Well, he did his businesses. He retired. He's like, you can work. I will chill. He's like the biggest support system out there. But again, culturally, the fact that I'm a photographer is still like, how can you make more money than an engineer or a doctor or someone like that? So I still get the nuggets here and there. but you are successful and you will continue to be successful because you're following your heart, your passion, your dreams. And that's truly, the definition of success for when you really look at what it is, right? Sure, we have to make money to survive, but what's making money if you're miserable going to work every day? And then that shows all over your face, and eventually that's not going to work out either, right? Which is the main reason I ended up leaving corporate, 8-9 years ago, because I was miserable. I had a pension and I had this really great job, and on paper I was making a crap load of money, but I walked through those doors every day miserable. And I was like, I'm not doing this for the rest of my life. I've got to figure shit out. Life is too short to be miserable.
Life is way too short. And then you throw kids in the mix and you're like, oh, well, thank God I have a job that I actually like, right? Like, I'm really glad that I have a business I actually enjoy and clients I enjoy being with. Kirtana, talk to us about maybe like one or two aha moments you've had as a business owner. What are some aha moments you can share with other moms that maybe have desired to start a photography business or desired to start some sort of business that you've learned over the last several years?
So there are a couple. I was thinking about this. I'm like, what was the moment where things changed for me in a way? It's funny, Olivia, when I started, I was just charging what I thought was the going rate, the market rate. Like you hear photographers are charging this, you start charging the same amount. one thing that really helped me and was like, oh my God, my light bulbs went out, is when you sit down and do the cost of doing business.
Yeah.
And then you realize, like, oh my God, if I charge these prices, and if it takes me 20 hours from like the point I acquire a client to the point that I deliver their photos, per client 20 hours, and this is what I'm charging, that's less than the money I would make working at Wendy's or McDonald's. It was truly maddening. And I'm like, how is this possible? Like, how are people doing this? But then you realize they're doing 60 clients a month. And I'm like, then you have no time for your family. Like, I don't get it. So for me, the aha moment was like, passion is one thing. Yes, you need to find something you're passionate about for you to be enjoying to do it for the rest of your life as a business. But you also need to be mindful about money. If you're working really hard, I know so many of my fellow photographers are working crazy hours. And I see posts by them like, oh, 2 a.m. still editing. And I'm like, why? Why are you doing this?
Yeah.
We should all as an industry talk about the cost of doing business, how we need to be charging our worth. Like, there's no point starting a business if it's just purely passion. Because when you start getting, even with the passion, when you start getting bogged down by the number of hours you need to deliver, it takes the joy away.
Yeah.
So you need to, I think for me, doing the cost of, what does it take to run a business after I've taken out my fixed expenses, after I've taken out my, the salary that I want to make, after I take out the taxes, what is left? Is that number something that makes me happy? Initially, it wasn't. It was quite a shocker. And I was like, I did not know I was losing money. I was basically paying myself from this other job that I still had at the time to do photography. So I was like, this is wrong. This is supposed to be by itself, and this is not supposed to take money from here. So I think for me, that was a big aha moment where it's like a lot of the new business owners, and it's not just photography, anybody that has any kind of a business which has fixed expenses, like having a studio, equipment, anything like that, it's important to know your numbers, like that they should be good for you to stay motivated to keep doing this. So I think that for me came with the education that I mentioned, like the business side of things. I never thought about it. I thought other people are charging this much, they're surviving at this much, I will survive at this much.
Yeah.
Turns out that wasn't the case.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing, like you said, it's the mindset shift. Like competition, I keep telling this to Prithvi too. My son is a very, very competitive child. And I keep telling him competition is a thief of joy. You are not supposed to compete with anybody but yourself. Look at yourself. Try to be better than yourself. Nobody can tell you if you're good or bad if you're just competing with yourself.
It's true.
So that was the other aha moment where I realized I'm like, I do not need to do what other people are doing. I need to put my blinders on and do things that work for me.
That's right.
And I think that's truly helped me this year. It's been a phenomenal year for me, and I cannot wait to see what next year does.
That's so amazing.
Yeah.
I'm so happy for you. And what an amazing, encouraging mom you are. And to be able to show your son not only like, hey, damn it, Indian women can run a successful business outside of what their family thinks that they should do. But like, your mom's a badass, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I'm going to show you. Like, this is really awesome. So good for you. I'm so happy for you.
I've also started, the other thing that comes with cultural is also like certain things that you say to your kids. Like when Prithvi asks for something, I'm like, I don't have money for that. Do you think money grows on trees? I have stopped saying those things to my child anymore. I want him to think money grows on trees and he has access to a pool of money if he believes he has access to it. I have started rewarding him and myself in certain ways where I tell him like, Prithvi, the next time I have a sale, this number, you and I are going to a Warriors game. The next time I do this, you and I are going to celebrate this. So not only has that kid, like it's almost like he's as invested in my business as I am when I have my ordering appointments. I usually do them at 8 p.m. because kids are in bed. It's much easier for everyone. So he knows I'm on an ordering appointment. He would go to sleep. He wakes up next morning and he was like, how was it? How was it? Like, he is my little cheerleader. He understands this. And Saurabh and I are very clear about this. Like, we both come from very, very educated families where they want us to struggle, go to college. Prithvi has no boundaries. Like, do whatever the hell you want. You want to start a business at 17? Let's do it. He was telling me yesterday, I can help you edit photos. I'm like, I am waiting for you to turn 13 and you will be doing exactly that.
You know, he's old enough to be on payroll here tonight.
Yes, I discovered that this year.
Yeah, my husband just reminded me kindly last night. He's like, I think Lucas and I can actually be on your payroll. I'm like, yeah, nice try, honey. Oh, God. So besides your beautiful newborn photos that we see in the background, tell us a little bit more about the services you offer for clients here in the Bay Area and kind of where your, surrounding areas. I know you have a studio in Belmont, but where else do you work?
So I work all over the Bay Area. I've had clients where I've traveled to them to meet them in the Marin. I've had clients as far south as like Gilroy even. So I travel all over the Bay Area. My clients have young children. So when we're doing family photo sessions, I try to be closer to where they are. The biggest genres that I do are, of course, newborn photography, family portraits. I started venturing into headshots this year. Like, headshots was not something that I thought I would enjoy or I would like doing. But then when I did it, I'm like, oh my God, this is like I give instructions and they follow instructions, unlike toddlers. So I'm sorry, I think a car outside on El Camino just went off. Okay. But it was amazing. And I realized, like, okay, this is no different from doing any portrait session. I was niching myself a lot, but I don't do that anymore. So I'm here as a problem solver. If you have a problem, let's talk about it. Let's see how my services can help you solve it. So those are the main three genres that I do. I don't do events unless it's for one of my clients. Then I would love to do it. Like I said, for me, it's service. Yeah. I would go do whatever I can to make it easier for you. And if I already have a working relationship with someone, it's much easier for me and for them to trust me in terms of the outputs. So those are my main three genres. And then I do offer a Santa experience every year, which I think now in the area, it's funny, and I see some posts where it's like, I read somewhere about someone offering the Santa experience. Who is this? And I'm like, people actually know me now.
Yeah, I had a fellow mompreneur who has a side business as a photographer text me directly a few nights ago and say, hey, who's that woman that does the Santa experience? Can I get her number? And I was like, oh, absolutely. And she's a photographer herself. So, the word is getting out here tonight because it's so magical. And obviously, we're all sitting here. All of us moms who have young children are sitting here watching your Instagram stories. And we're like, oh, my God, that's so amazing. Like, are you at the North Pole with Santa? Like, what the hell is going on here?
Yeah, I feel like I've been trying to make it bigger and better every year. When my husband's like, if we keep going at this rate, like, it's going to be a Santa Indian style wedding affair. If we keep continuing like this.
Not a bad idea, Kirtana.
No, but I'm very grateful. It's come to that point where, hard work is finally starting to being recognized. I thought of something that wasn't in the market, something that I wanted for my child that didn't exist at that time. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to do it and we'll see what happens.
That's how many success stories happen, right? Yeah. Is like taking something that's a need and implementing it and, getting it out there so it's exposed to others who feel like there's a need for that as well. What month do you start the Santa experience? Because you get booked so quickly. So what are kind of the starting dates and ending dates for the Santa experience?
I usually have to finish them before Thanksgiving. Because after Thanksgiving, I realized people just get really busy. Plus, it doesn't leave me enough time to edit and make storybooks or have their wall art ready in time. My labs also shut down by December 14th. So I start marketing them typically around September. Though next year, like I was telling Santa when he was here this weekend, like we need to shoot early so that I can start in July. Because I've had so many people reach out and they're like, oh, it's the weekend before the Thanksgiving break, so we'll be traveling, and I get it, like, but at the same time it's like I really can't get any other day. It's Santa's busiest month starts in December. So but September is when I typically start. Next year would be August, I would say. And they sell out pretty quickly. I've had clients who came in for the third year in a row. And now it's like their kids just walk in knowing who Santa is. They sit with Santa, do everything because they know what Santa does with them. They ask questions. Like I don't have it here, but I've had kids come up, like little kids who can't write a wish list. They came with pages with pictures of things on there. And they're like, this is what I want, Santa. You can see the photo right here. Like, it's adorable to see these kids come up with the brightest things.
Amazing. And for anybody who's watching this who doesn't know what we're talking about with the Santa experience, just go on to Kirtana's website. What's your website, Kirtana?
goldenshutterportraits.com.
goldenshutterportraits.com. You'll be able to see all of the amazing things that Kirtana does, but you really can't have the experience until you sign up and actually understand the level of detail that Kirtana does for her families for this Santa experience. Kirtana, it was so fun chatting with you today. And I just have to tell you, I'm so damn proud of you.
Thank you.
Congratulations on achieving your year-end goal early.
I am so excited. This year has been fun. And I finally, like I said, because I work with a makeup artist, I have a date in my calendar where we have a family calendar. I set it up and I said, Golden Shutter Portraits holiday party. And I sent it to Sarah. And Sarah was like, you're having a holiday party for yourself? I'm like, no, me and my makeup artist, Candace, we're going out for dinner. It's our holiday party this year. We deserve it.
I love it. You ladies absolutely deserve it. I love it. Well, Kirtana, we wish you and your family a wonderful holiday season. Congratulations again. I'm so proud of you. And I cannot wait to see you soon. And next year, we are absolutely joining in on that Santa experience.
Absolutely. Be ready for the Indian wedding standard. Thank you so much, Olivia. Thank you. Bye.